What famous person chose to step away at the height of their fame? Rick Moranis left Hollywood at the top of his fame to look after his kids after his wife died. He will make his first appearance in decades next year in Spaceballs 2. Also, the girls from Ace of Base. Bill Watterson, the cartoonist who did Calvin and Hobbes. Barry Sanders. Feel so sorry for him, he was on shit teams. What a talent. Daft Punk, not a person but still, they released arguably their most iconic album of all time, a polished masterpiece, did music for a few movies, then left. One of the most notable is J.D. Salinger. Dude wrote a classic and just dipped from the public eye totally. Wild choice but kinder legendary. Say what you want about him now, but Chappell has gotta be up there. He was huge and just dipped to Africa. Rick Astley. And now he's back and that is good. Gary Larson, The Far Side. Me. I was in a couple commercials and a Disney movie as a kid. The creator of Flappy Bird. George Washington. He could have become a king, but instead he became a legend. JTT maybe? I can't remember the exact timeline, but he was a teen heartthrob and then just bounced. My wife and I were just talking about him when we were watching Home Improvement the other day. Nico Rosberg. Beat the likely GOAT of Formula One straight up. Then retired and never tried again. Enya. Made her money and went to live in a castle. Ashley Barty, former Australian world #1 tennis player who won 2019 French Open, 2021 Wimbledon and 2022 Australian Open before retiring 2 months after her last Grand Slam. Michael Jordan just temporary Thorlall. Dave Chappell turned down a $40 million deal and disappeared for a while. Jerry Seinfeld ending the show on season 9. Every episode is a classic and they'd have given him more money for season 10, but he decided to go out on a high note. Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker from the prequel films. After episode 3 finished filming, and probably after finishing up voice work for video games and stuff like that, he just bought some land, a farm, and starting growing his own shit and taking care of animals. I respect the hell out of it. Zach de la Rocha, the lead singer of Rage Against the Machine. He just sort of dropped out, supposedly societal angst or who the F knows, but he has low-key teased a comeback a few times and in interviews says he has albums more material in the vault. Their work from 30+ years ago was almost prophetic and has aged wonderfully, sounds just as cutting-edge and genre-bending as ever. Rick Moranis. He left acting when his wife passed away and took care of his kids. Damn fine man. Jim Brown in football, but he parlayed that into a Hollywood career. Kurt Cobain. Obviously he died, but he was actually planning on disbanding Nirvana and didn't like the constant attention he was getting with the band. Dolores Hart went from starring in movies with Elvis to becoming a nun. Pat Tillman walked away from a solid NFL career to serve his country and paid the ultimate price. Emma Watson. Became world famous and then stepped back to actually use her fame to help other more unfortunate people. Rick Moranis. He stepped away from acting when his wife passed away to raise his kids. Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam, largely stopped producing mainstream music from about 1979 until the mid-2000s, a period often described as roughly 25 to 28 years. He withdrew from the music business in the late 1970s after converting to Islam and focused on religious study, charity, and education, only returning to recording and performing around 2006 with the album Another Cup. Nico Rosberg. Formula One driver who beat Lewis Hamilton for a world championship and just retired at the peak. I think Carmen Diaz. Bjorn Borg. Retired at 26. Zidane did it twice as a player and as a manager. Nice Rosberg, F1, beat Lewis Hamilton in his prime for the championship in the same car, then retired. Baller move. Rick Moranis' truly tragic reason. 2. His wife died. Ted Williams. Joined the military during WW2 at the peak of his baseball career. Bobby E. Fischer. MFAR won the World Championship in '72 and vanished for many years. Endre 3000 aka Opossum Aloysius Jenkins aka Dookie Blossom Gain 3 Funk Crusader. Love Pusher Dungeon Family. First generation here to drop the third go. Bobby Gentry. Not only did she step away, but has purposely hidden. Grace Kelly. Won an Oscar. Was in 3 classic Hitchcock films and then retired at 26 to be a full-time princess. Eric Cantona retired at 30 while still probably the best player in England. Dolores Hart. From starring with Elvis to a convent. Fine Young Cannibals singer Roland Gift. FYC's second album was huge. Gift was particularly visible for his good looks and unique voice, but from what I understand they hated being famous and retreated from the spotlight. Gift took some turns as an actor, but apparently his heart wasn't in it. Rick Moranis left his acting career behind to raise his children after his wife passed away. What happened to a fun? E. Harper Lee. Irene Dunn. Does Andrew Luck from the Colts count? He didn't win a Super Bowl, but I'd say he was at the height of his popularity when he walked away from the game of football. Mos Def. He was making hits and appearing movies, retired from music in 2016 and has only appeared in 1 movie since then as well. The late Jim Brown, running back for the Cleveland Browns. Missy Elliott. I'm not sure if "chozy" is the right word, but she got sick with Graves' disease, and it basically stopped her music career when she was one of the biggest names in hip-hop. William Henry Harrison. Simpsons fans know how long he was in office. Everyone's number 1 friend. Tom from MySpace. Carl Edwards. Race car driver. Nico Rosberg won the 2016 F1 title in an absolute thriller against peak Lewis Hamilton and retired 5 days later. Still hasn't raced a car since. He does commentary here and there and has generational wealth, but didn't like having to sacrifice time with his family and young daughter to concentrate solely on beating Hamilton, the definition of a climbing his Everest and liking the view. Is an F1 world champion. Drove his tail off to earn it and nobody can take that away. He had a great career and was happy with it. Just off the top of my head. For baseball fans, Sandy Koufax, https://www.baseball-reference.com/players/k/Koufacer01.shtml. His career ended with the most single-season wins of his career and a minimal ERA. He was injured. Dire Straits released one of the biggest albums in the history of commercial music, then stepped away for 6 years, put out 1 more album, and call it quits as a band. Still did other projects though.